What's up, y'all? Welcome to my channel. I hope all is well. This is the Health and Fit Pros United. On this video, we're going to be going over our Mblex review. So this is going to be the first video on the channel. I'm going to be producing a lot of content moving forward just to help people, mainly licensed massage therapists and trainers, personal trainers, fitness instructors, and all these different avenues of people who need help not only just like passing their test, but understanding a lot of the things that you may have to study. So a little background about me right quick. I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 23 years. I've been a certified personal trainer for over 13 years, and also now over 3 years now, I'm a licensed massage therapist. Okay, so I have a lot of information that I think will really help a lot of fit pros and health and fit pros really, become the best version of themselves based on my experience. All right, so on this video, right quick, we're going over, we're just doing a back to basics workshop. So I did this workshop when I was a teacher assistant at the school I worked at. So I just want to do this workshop for online. Hopefully it won't take that long, and you guys will be able to stay woke while I'm doing this. All right, so if you're new to the channel, just click the sub button. And if you like the information, like the video, and let's move on. All right, so we're going to be going back to basics. The goal of this workshop is relearning the basics in order to excel in test taking. In that case, being the Mblex, but you can use this for any test. Okay, so the goal of this tutorial is to relearn and learn some of the principal terms, functions, anatomy, kinesiology, and other subjects. Leverage the basics in order to be able to break down the questions on the Mblex. Use the process of elimination in order to come up with the best answer, and become confident in your ability to take the Mblex, okay, and any other test. All right, so an example of this would be what you see on the right. Okay, so you have your appendicular skeleton, aka appendages, okay, and you have your exoskeleton, which is made of the skull, the thorax, the rib cage, okay, the spine, okay, and based on this, or based on what you just saw, we will have a question. The exoskeleton is made up all of the following parts except A, the spine, B, the skull, C, the limbs, D, the ribs. The answer would be C, the limbs. Okay, so we just saw that the appendicular skeleton, a word in that appendicular skeleton, appendages, which means basically the limbs, okay, which basically includes the shoulder girdle, the arms, the pelvis, the thigh, the legs, and the feet. Okay, that should be really, really simple. I gave you guys something really simple that you can use in order to do the process of elimination. Okay, so again, the question, the exoskeleton is made of all of the following parts except, okay, once you go through this and you see limbs, you should automatically know that is limbs. Even if you don't know what the exoskeleton is made of, you know that it was not included is the limbs. Okay, all right, so what is going to help you pass the Mblex? Studying as much as possible, approximately 10 to 15 hours a week. Okay, 2, breaking down your studying, okay, by studying the most difficult subjects. Okay, now some people may argue that you need to study the easiest subjects, but my question is, why would you study something that you already know? Or why would you put more time into something that you already know over something that you don't know as much? Okay, so studying the most difficult subjects so you can get on an even playing field and be able to know that knowledge as much as you know the knowledge that you already know. Okay, using context clues and cues to make things easier to remember, and also breaking down questions little by little to produce the correct answer, and becoming confident in the knowledge you obtain. Okay, for an example, the suffix itis, okay, this is be a context clue. In medical terminology, stands for what? It stands for B, inflammation. Okay, so muscle myo, okay, muscle myo, connective tissue, oh Lord, I don't know why I'm forgetting. Aponeurosis. Aponeurosis is a name for connective tissue. Okay, death, of course, is not death. We don't want to put that. Okay, but itis, it means inflammation. Okay, so anytime you see itis in something, you know you're dealing with a term that means inflammation of something. Okay, tendinitis means what? Inflammation of a tendon. And here we go. I just gave you the answer for the next one. What is the medical term to define inflammation of a tendon? Okay, based on what we just went over, it is C, tendinitis. Okay, it's not tendinosis, it's not ligamentosis. There's no such thing as ligamentosis. We'll go over that later. And a hurt tendon is not a medical term. Just saying your tendon's hurt is more of a general term. How is the tendon hurt? Okay, more of a. If you want to talk about a hurt tendon, if you want to put that in medical terms, you could really be talking about tendinopathy, okay? Which could be a combination of tendinitis and tendinosis, okay? All right, what is the process of elimination during test taking? A strategy that rules out every incorrect answer only to leave the correct answer, okay? So think of the Mblex in this way, okay? A, right answer may be 4 points. B, the maybe answer may be 3 points, maybe not, maybe worth 2 points, and the wrong answer is worth 1 point. This is not exactly how the Mblex grades, but I like to think of it this way because you get a score. As far as I know, when I took the Mblex, it was explained to me that you get a score regardless, right? If you get the right answer or the wrong answer, but depending on how many right or maybe answers you get is going to determine whether you pass the Mblex or not. Okay. Because you can most likely get away. Don't quote me on this, but from what I've gathered, most likely you could get away with getting a lot of maybes and some rights. But you're not going to get away with it getting a lot of maybe nots or wrong answers. Okay? All right. So here's some study resources that you can use besides coming to my channel, of course. The AMTA app has a Mblex guide. Dan Molino is the book I use. This is I didn't use this book exactly, but his Mblex book that he comes out with every year. I use that one. ABNP is a tool that we were using in school when I was in school. It was good. To me, the Dan Molino was better, just my opinion. But it was still good. Some people that I know passed just off of doing the ABNP exams and everything. And the YouTube videos, okay? YouTube videos. And ABNP actually has 5-minute muscles. That's what I mainly use for my kinesiology and my anatomy. And then YouTube videos, such as my channel and then other channels out there as well, okay? Let's go over now rotator cuff muscles. So this is, again, back to basics, okay? So there are 4 rotator cuff muscles. You have your supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. The subscapularis is the only rotator cuff muscle on the anterior part of the scap, while the other 3 muscles sit on the posterior side. The goal of the rotator cuff muscles is or are to help stabilize the shoulder during movement. The acronym that we use to define, or not to define, to name the muscles is SITS, okay? To help you remember the rotator cuff muscles, all right? Now, sorry, hold on. There we go. Okay, so now let's go over some origins and insertions. Excuse me, the origins. All right, so the origins to me should be very easy for y'all, okay? The majority of the origins should be very easy for y'all, especially for the first 3, okay? The subscapularis sits on the fossa of the subscap. The supraspinatus sits in the fossa of the origin of the fossa. I'm sorry, the origin of the supraspinatus sits in the supraspinatus fossa. Infraspinatus sits in the infraspinatus fossa. The teres minor is the only one that you just have to really, really remember. Inferior angle of the scap and the lateral border of the scapula. Okay, so again, very easy. Should be easy to remember, especially after this video. The insertion. Okay, the insertions should also be easy because 3 of the rotator cuff muscles have the same insertion, okay? The subscap is the only one that has a different insertion point, which is on the lesser tubercle of the humerus. All the other 3 that's on the posterior side go to the greater tubercle of the humerus, or the greater tuberosity of the humerus. Okay, so basically the supraspinatus, the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, and the teres minor all sit on the greater tuberosity, or insert on the greater tuberosity or tubercle of the humerus. Okay, so should be, again, back to basics. This should be easy to remember, especially after this video, and all you have to do is keep replaying the video if you forget. Okay, actions. Okay, again, this will become more easier as you do it, and two of the rotator cuff muscles have the same movement. Okay, but let's go over all of them. Subscapularis, internal or medial rotation. Supraspinatus, abduction. Okay, you may get a question too about how much of the supraspinatus is involved with abduction. It's about the first 50, it's debatable, but they say the first 15 to 30 degrees. Okay, I like to stay around 15 to 20. That's the most consensus that I've seen, but 15, they say 15 to 30 degrees before the deltoid, your medial deltoid, takes over. Okay, the infraspinatus and the teres minor have the same movement. Okay, this is an easy way to remember the actions. Okay, two of the rotator cuff muscles, which are right above and below each other, have the same movement. Okay, so I want you guys to remember that. All right, well, of course I want you to remember that because I want you to pass. Okay, all right. Now, the teres major, let's go over this one. The teres major is not a rotator cuff muscle. It sits below the teres minor. Okay, sits below the teres minor. That's another common mistake. A lot of people assume because it's the major, it sits above. No, it sits below. It is not a rotator cuff muscle. Okay, it has the same movement basically as the latissimus dorsi, and is considered the lat's little helper. Okay, so make sure when you are assessing or taking the test that you don't confuse the two, because it is often a misconception that the teres major, to a lot of people, especially the new people who are taking kinesiology anatomy courses, it's a common mistake to think that the teres major is a rotator cuff muscle. It is not. All right. So based on what we just went over, let's go over some questions. All of the muscles below are part of the rotator cuff muscle group except one. We just went over that. Okay, we just went over that. So it based on what we just went over, you should know already the answer, and the answer is B, the teres major. It is not a rotator cuff muscle. The supraspinatus, teres minor, and infraspinatus are the three rotator cuff muscles, 3 of the 4. The one we're missing here is the subscapularis. Okay. Next question. Which rotator cuff muscle is located on the anterior side of the scapula with an insertion on the lesser tubercle of the humerus? We just went over that earlier. Okay, A, supraspinatus, B, teres major, C, subscapularis, D, latissimus dorsi. So this is how you should be doing process of elimination. All right, you should have been doing it with all of the questions, but this one is a good one. Okay, because all of the information I just gave you should help you answer this question. So let's break this down. Two of the answers should automatically be eliminated because the question asks which rotator cuff muscle. Which rotator cuff muscle? Okay, so that would mean the teres major should be eliminated and the latissimus dorsi should be eliminated because those two are not rotator cuff muscles. Okay, so we only have 2 answers remaining: supraspinatus and subscapularis. Okay, another answer should be eliminated immediately, which should be the A. So supraspinatus should be eliminated. Why? Because we discussed earlier that there's one rotator cuff muscle that is on the anterior side of the body, and that is the subscapularis. So even if you don't know the insertion of the subscapularis, which is on there, the lesser tubercle of the humerus, you know that that is the only rotator cuff muscle that is on the anterior side of the body. Therefore, that's how you get your answer. Okay. Now, if you just know the information, that's great. But if you're just not sure, but you just went over what we just went over, that should be your answer based on everything that we just went over. Okay. All right, next question. This part of the humerus is located on the lateral side of the bone and is an attachment site for 3 rotator cuff muscles. So let's go over the answers right quick. A, lateral condyle. B, the greater tubercle of the humerus. C, the lesser tubercle of the humerus. Or D, the lateral border of the scapula. So one of these answers should be eliminated immediately, okay? Because the question asked in the beginning, this part of the humerus, is the lateral border of the scapula part of the humerus? The answer is no. So that should be eliminated immediately, because the humerus is what? The arm bone, basically, your upper arm, right? That connects the head of the humerus is in the glenoid fascia and goes down to the olecranon process, right? So that is your humeral bone, okay? So the lateral border of the scapula cannot be the answer, okay? So now we got another answer we need to eliminate, which is the lateral condyle. Why so? Because there is no attachment sites for the rotator cuff muscles on the lateral condyle of the humerus. There is none. We didn't discuss that earlier, right? So that answer should be eliminated immediately, okay? Now, those of you who are confused, let's go back right quick. We just went over all the insertions, right? Not once did we mention the lateral condyle. Not once. We said the greater tubercle or tuberosity and lesser tubercle or tuberosity. Okay? We never once mentioned any condyles or anything. Okay? And the condyles are more distal. They're not proximal to your shoulder girdle. Okay? So, based on that, we should know that we have 2 answers remaining. So now, we said lateral side. Okay? Now, if you were paying attention earlier, you would know that we said 3 of the rotator cuff muscles connect to where? The greater tubercle of the humerus. Therefore, that should be the answer. Not the lesser tubercle of the humerus, because that was the insertion. That is the insertion of the subscapularis. Okay? All right. Name the muscles in the picture from superior to inferior, respectively. Okay. So now we went over this earlier again. Okay. Let's do process of elimination. All right. One of the answers should be eliminated immediately. Okay. Immediately. All right. D, and that is D, the greater tubercle and lesser tubercle of the humerus. Why? Because these are bony landmarks. They're not muscles. The question asks for you to name the muscles in the picture. Okay? Superior to inferior. So these are not muscles right here. So let's eliminate D. Okay? Next, we should be eliminating B, supraspinatus and infraspinatus, because if you go back, you probably got the answer from there, but if you go back, sorry if it's a little not clear, but the supraspinatus is up here, right? Infraspinatus is here. All right, so you probably got the answer anyway, but let's finish it out. All right, so if you paid attention earlier, you would hear me say that this muscle is the teres minor, and then this muscle is the teres major. Therefore, there can only be one correct answer, because it says from superior to inferior, okay? And that would be C, the teres minor and major. Because here, this answer would basically be saying that the teres major is above the teres minor, and that is not correct, okay? All right. Which 2 rotator cuff muscles perform a similar action of external or lateral rotation? All right, so one answer should be eliminated immediately, and that is going to be A, before we even go to the rest of the answers. Why? because they are not rotator cuff muscles. Okay? The latissimus dorsi and the teres major are not rotator cuff muscles. Therefore, they should not be eliminated. They should be eliminated. That answer should be eliminated. Okay? B, you have the infraspinatus and the teres minor. C, subscapularis and supraspinatus. D, teres major and minor. Now, which other answer should be eliminated? I hope you said D. I hope you said D, because the teres major is not a rotator cuff muscle. We should already know that from previous questions already. So that answer automatically gets eliminated. Now it asks, perform similar action of external and lateral rotation. What does the subscapularis perform? It performs internal or medial rotation. Therefore, that cannot be the answer. Okay, even if you think it's the supraspinatus, it cannot be the answer because the subscapularis performs a different action. Okay, so the only answer can be B, the infraspinatus and the teres minor. Okay, great job, y'all. Great job. All right, so I'm gonna save this video. I'm gonna cut this video short. Okay, just because this back to basics is a lot. All right, so let's just say this is part 1. I'm going to do a part 2. Okay, as you see, part 2 is going to be going into planes of motion and anatomical movement. So what you can do is do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, just comment below, like the video, give me your thoughts, any questions that you have, and be on the lookout for part 2. By the time I start loading videos up, it should appear after this video ends. I just don't want this video to be too long. I want to break it down. And then, this is Back to Basics Workshop. And thank you guys for joining my channel. And make sure you subscribe. And I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.